Are you ready? I'm ready. Okay. Can you see me now? Are you looking at me now? Hey girl, hey! What is up, girl? It is Bria M. Carey back with a new episode of Good God Girl, the podcast where we get real about the struggles and the success in being, you already know, God's kind of beautiful. Make sure you stop right now at this moment, scroll down and hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all of the good things coming from the Good God Girl. Also, make sure that you go on all of our streaming platforms, hit the subscribe button, leave a rating and a review. And tell me how much you love this show. Tell me how much it means to you, if it means anything to you, if it's been an encouragement, baby, I want to hear it, okay? It's the you for me. Y'all feedback really just be hitting my whole heart, and it's an encouragement to me. And you know what? It also helps other women who are on their journey to becoming God's kind of beautiful find this show and hear what it is that God is telling me to tell y'all friends to do. So go ahead, do that favor for me. And yep. Some time has passed. It's been about a month since I last released an episode of Good God Girl, and I decided, that I really was extremely tired. I wanted to listen to my body and what, God was telling me at that time. And at that time, he was telling me to sit down, honey, take a little break. So that's exactly what I did. I took a little nice month off, just got to recharge and refresh my mind, my body, my spirit, all that good stuff, so I could show up as my best person. I will, have a whole episode on that time off, but I'm really excited to bring you all today's episode because it's with my girlfriend, the Shanell McCoy. Now, Shanell was supposed to be my very first inaugural guest on Good God Girl, but I'm not gonna lie, I was not prepared to do an interview. This stuff takes time and practice and some, guidance and stuff like that. So I decided to just throw the whole episode away. And today we are re-recording that. But, we'll get into all of that good stuff once you all hear what we got planned for y'all. But I just want to, introduce you to my girl, Shanell. For those of you who don't know, she is the person who is singing on our theme song, See Me Now. Check her out. But Shanell McCoy is a creative entrepreneur with a voice for podcasts and music. Yes, she is. After launching her business, Shanell McCoy Creative, she has helped a number of startup entrepreneurs and small businesses bring the authentic heart of their ideas to life. That ain't nothing but the Lord. She is also the host of a weekly YouTube series called Entrepreneurship Friday, and co-host of the Nelly and K Show. Hey, Kay, shout out to you. A podcast unpacking relationship topics from meeting to marriage. And you know what? I'm going to let her go on and explain who Kay is, what the Nelly and K Show is, and all that other good stuff. But without further ado, welcome the Shanell McCoy. Okay, so y'all, welcome our guest, the Shanell McCoy. Hey girl, hey, how are you doing? How's it going?
I'm doing good, friend.
Yes.
Finally on
Yes.
the Good God Girl podcast.
Yes, I was actually explaining to everybody that we already recorded. You are our inaugural guest in this podcast when I started doing guests way back. I think, look, girl, like February, something like that, or whatever. And we recorded a whole episode, and I just was like, I need to throw this away because I needed some help. You were a good practice partner. You've done this, you'll explain a little bit more, but like, I just need a little bit more help. And, thank you. That's all I got to say.
But you out here interviewing like Oprah now, so
What?
we needed the practice, and then now
Oh,
you out here.
what? Oh, Oprah status?
You know what I'm
Dang.
saying?
Okay, so for y'all, you probably can't see, but I got a whole hot mess going on over here. I am recording on my laptop with the Zoom. I'm recording on my phone so I can have some better quality or whatever. And I'm holding this mic, which looks really ridiculous. But when God moves, I move just like that.
Okay, that's it. You gotta do what you
Okay,
gotta do.
right, period. Because Jesus said so. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to get into this episode and really getting to know a little bit about you. So the Shanell McCoy, ma'am, how about you tell us a little bit about who you are, girl, who you are, what you be doing?
Well, I'll be out here talking about God.
Period.
Well, I am an entrepreneur. I quit my job last year. So in August, I started my business, Shanell McCoy Creative, which will actually be getting a rebranding soon. I'll let y'all know what the name is. But I basically help other entrepreneurs and artists with their ideas. So sometimes we have thoughts in our head, and I help you organize them and create a strategy from that. That's my current hustle. I also do podcasts. I am a co-host of the Nelly and K Show with my fiance.
Oh,
So we just started a podcast about relationships from meeting to marriage. And then I also do Encouragement Friday, which I'm going to start back up pretty soon, which is a weekly video series where I document my faith journey. And I
oh,
sing sometimes.
girl,
Sometimes.
you be singing. You be singing. We hear you every time we drop an episode, girl. We hear
Oh,
you.
yeah, that is me on the intro.
Hey now.
Yeah. I used to sing back in the day. Back in the day.
Look.
Bree's mad at me because Bree's low key my manager, and so she gets upset that I'm not doing music.
I'll just be trying to tell her, like, when God moves, you need to move. And
Okay.
we're going to get into that whole little woo wop later. But thank you for telling us a little bit about who you are, girlfriend. And I heard some along the lines of you being a fiance now, period.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Look at the ring.
God did it. God did it, and so we show it.
Okay. Okay. If you got it, then flaunt it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
okay, girl, moving on. I want to know, see, I know you, girl. Me and you have been friends for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, our friendship was forced, like all my other friendships. I seen you and this girl perform, and I was like, "Oh, girl, she could sing. What? She be sitting in the back of my science class. She don't be talking or nothing, but she can
hmm
sing. Okay, bet. Let me go ahead. Soon as Monday come and biology is in session, baby, I'm gonna go introduce myself." And I was like, "Hey, girl, I'm Bree. We're friends. Turn up." And I have been annoying Shanell for the past 10 plus years since then, and our relationship has just gone through like just so many different transitions. And I'm just thankful to have you, friend, and for you
Aw.
to be in my life. And I just had to say that, publicly, even though we already
Yes.
cried about it.
I
But
swear. We're in such a season of affirmation as friends. This would be like the third time in the last week that we sat here and was like, "You've been my friend for so long, and I
I
love you
love you,
because."
friend. I love you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for real. And so, we could talk about that a little bit later. But I really want to move on and get to know, a little bit more about you. I want, other good guy girls out there to know a little bit about who Shanell McCoy is. And so I just want you to, could you share with us your journey to becoming God's kind of beautiful? I know it wasn't easy. Explain a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in the church. Always had a background of being in the church, in church groups and things like that. But I feel like every church girl, I don't know, I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but at least the ones I know go through this phase of like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm gonna go out here and do my own thing. I'm gonna get into this relationship. I'm not gonna do things biblically. And so there was a point where my life was just a mess. It felt like a mess. I felt like a mess. And I got to a point where I was like, God, things aren't going well, so I'm gonna need you to come and intervene. And so I remember the prayer that I said, and I was like, God, I'm just gonna give it to you. You're in full control. And God totally shifted my life. So at the time I was doing 2 podcasts, and I had a blog with some women who's super dope. And God told me to end everything, so I ended everything. I was working a job. God told me to quit, and he really just started working on me for the next couple of years after leaving a really bad relationship too. Just started working on me and shifted everything from my music to the content that I create to the life that I live. And so it really started with that surrendering of like, man, my life is a mess. So now, God, I'm just going to give it to you because you are the cleaner, you are the sanctifier, and you are the one who could take my life from where it is now to where I really feel you want me to be.
That's real. And so I know at that time, way back when, you actually started a podcast. Um, wasn't it just called like the Shanell McCoy podcast?
Yep.
And you documented like you had went through a whole breakup and um girl, I'm not gonna tell your story.
Yep. So I was in a relationship that was like 5 years from the time I was 17 to, it was like 4.5. So 17 to 22. And like a month before I ended that relationship, I started a podcast called the Nelly Shay. Um, yeah, dang, that was such a long time ago. But yeah, I started a podcast called the Nelly Shay. And then when I broke up with um my boyfriend at the time, I started to document my healing process because now I had this audience of women listening. And I was like, yeah, so I'm going through a breakup. And then I would say things that would help me heal, and it was helping other women heal. And it kept me accountable to not go back to that situation because now I'm talking to some women and I can't come back and be like, just kidding, we're back together. So it really helped me to exit a situation that wasn't good for me, but it also taught me a lot about myself.
Yeah, I remember listening to those episodes. I'm like, oh, she's spitting because baby, I'm going through the same thing right now.
Listen.
And that's actually so again, as I mentioned, me and Chanel were friends in high school, but as soon as, college came around, I was living, maybe an hour away. Chanel was doing her thing. She had her relationship going. And so listening to that podcast was really a defining moment, I think, for our friendship, because I was like, dang, she's really going through this. Dang, I really love what she's doing. And we ended up working together on a whole bunch of other stuff, but that was definitely a catalyst moment. And I think like that was God in the details, because had you have not been obedient to God and during that time and really documenting that, I think like we just probably would have went on, the way we were going on, not really talking, saying, hey, what's up here and there, but just kind of like that. But man, from the beginning, you have truly been like an inspiration. Just watching the stuff that you do, it really does inspire me, and it definitely inspired me at that time. So now, because you said you was in just this terrible relationship, but 2 seconds ago you just said you have a fiance.
Mhm.
So tell us about that whole, how did, what girl, when that happened, how that happened, who is
Listen.
Kate?
Well, Kay of the Nelly and K Show is my fiance. Kay, it's funny how we can't say fiance straight. Like we are so childish. We got fiance anyway. Um, his name is Kaylin Jones, and he fine or whatever, and he from the DMV or whatever, and I like him. I love him a lot. Um, but anyway, Bree got herself on mute, but she is cracking up, and it's cracking me up.
I am cracking up because you are hilarious.
My fiance. But I only got a couple months to say that anyway. Yeah, basically I went from this really toxic relationship, and I think just being a teenager and being like, I just want to be with somebody who looks good, and disregarding character, disregarding spirituality and everything else. I found myself in a very bad situation for me where I compromised everything about myself. So then after that, I went through 4 years of being single, of God just working on me, transforming my life, and me really getting to know who I am. Hence the Shanell McCoy, because there was a point where I was like, nah, like I'm Shanell McCoy, and I need to sit in that, and I need to be confident in the fact that I'm Shanell McCoy. And once I established an identity for myself, then God was like, okay, you ready. So then he sent Kaylin in, and now I'm not depending on Kaylin to make me happy. I'm not depending on him to heal me, but instead it's two individuals coming together in partnership to push forward what God has for us.
That's so real because, okay, so again, me and Chanel went through these similar phases in my life. I do not have a fiance, you know what I'm saying? Not yet, but we dated like we were in similar dating situations like up until she got engaged, and it's just like so amazing to see like just this whole process that has occurred over the course of these 4 years, and it's really truly a testament to God. But girl, you said something that I be talking about all the time, because we already know my kryptonite is a fine man with a fade, right?
Listen.
And
Mhm.
like we just completely like let go of our standards, our expectations, our godly standards and non-negotiables and things like that for these fellas who be fine, or whatever,
Mhm.
and be slick with the lips, and we just completely let it go and end up in toxic situations. And so I don't necessarily want to hear about like your toxic situation, because why bring that up? But I know you started a podcast called Singlehood to, encourage yourself and encourage other women during that time. So, I mean, I feel like I just said why you did it, but what
Mhm.
led you to that?
You said it best when we were working on our other podcast that never got released. um, you said there were times where you would say, "God, I'll be right back," and that stuck with me because that's what we do when it comes to like the fine men, or it comes to like the season of singleness. You're like, "I just want it to be over," and then you meet somebody and you're like, "Ah, God, I'll be right back," and then you go do whatever, and then you
Girl,
come
yeah,
back
I'm good for
and your
that.
life is a hot mess.
Look, let me
Hmm.
shut up.
But we learning, we growing, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
yeah.
there was a point where I was that person, that I'll be right back, God person. And I got fed up with having this dependency on men. And I was like, man, like, I don't think I'm doing my single season right, because I'm just singlehood right now is just like, I think of like the bus stop where you just waiting for the bus to come, and you're just sitting there anxious, and you're just like, ah, when's he gonna come? And I was like, I need to enjoy this. Every married woman around me is telling me, enjoy your single season. And I was not enjoying it. So singlehood came from me trying to find contentment in my singlehood, and to really sit in what God was trying to do through me in that time and use it as a gift rather than thinking of it as a curse. I was like, dang, I'm not going to be well in a relationship if I don't value this time. And now that I'm engaged, I emphasize it even more to tell single women to sit in your singleness and enjoy it. And I know it's hard because you see people in relationships, you're like, dang, I want to be in a relationship. And then you see fine men and it's like, ah, this could be it. But when I tell you, sit in your singleness and enjoy the time, I mean it. And I can explain why too, but that whole podcast was just about finding contentment, finding joy within yourself and within your single season.
And would you say you found it?
Yeah, because I mean, when Kaylin came along, I wasn't even really checking for him. You know what I'm saying? I was interested. I was like, oh, who is this? But I was like, I'm doing this though, you know?
Right, right. Because you were focused in your purpose.
Yes. Yeah, and that
Period.
took so long just for me to get to that place because,
Mm-hmm.
girl, and I was a hot mess at times in my singleness where I
Mm-hmm.
was like texting dudes who had no interest in me, or
Mm-hmm.
even like fighting for men who were ghosting me. And it's like, man, the total difference to see how God blessed me with Kaylin. And God was like, no, this is him. Even when I denied it, he was like, no, 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 this is him. And he kept pushing me toward him, and he
Mm-hmm.
made Kaylin a bit available for me. It was like, oh, I don't have to fight for this. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be desperate for this. I just gotta sit in it and watch God move. Like, girl, it was night and day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. It shifted my understanding of what pursuit means. Like everything we prepare for in
Mm-hmm.
our singleness, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get taken for granted.
Yeah. That's so good, girl. So we've both kind of alluded, if you ain't watching the video right now, and just a lot of the things that you were saying and the way that you have been like really living your life is on a when God moves, I move, just like that type of basis. So you started this whole campaign with Entrepreneurship Friday, which I think you said you changed the name to Encouragement Friday.
Mhm.
Tell us about that. Tell us about this saying that you came up with.
So I was in a season where I hated my job. I was depressed every day, and I started fasting. I was like, look, I don't know what I need to do, but I need to fast. So I fasted, and through that, I felt God said, quit your job. And I was like, I don't think I can quit. Like the job I was working at was not one of those, I'm gonna go to the boss and just quit kind of jobs.
That was a good job, girl. You was
That was a good
salary,
job.
girl.
Listen, and Bree helped me.
You
You
know,
helped me in the interview process.
that
I
was
was
a good
salary.
job. She was
Like,
working, somewhere for stage. You know what I'm saying?
hmm so I mean, I guess I could say it now because it's not a secret, but I was working for the attorney general and I was doing his podcast and his video stuff. And God was like, quit your job. And I was like, okay. So it was the scariest thing that I feel like I've had to do in any job setting was to go to this state official and say, I'm quitting. And he was like, why? And I was like, because I couldn't, like, I could have said God told me, but I was like, I don't know. Essentially is what I said. And I got so much confirmation. Like I went to a church conference and I was like, I don't even know if I should quit my job. And they called me up and they were like, Shanell, don't be scared. You need to walk through the door. And they didn't even know I was thinking about quitting my job. I didn't even know that they were gonna give me that word, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna be obedient. I quit the job. And from then on, I said, God, I trust you. I went 6 months without a job, unemployed. And then God gave me the idea for my business, and that launched my entrepreneur journey. And so, as an entrepreneur, I realized that I have to continue to move in the same way of trusting and leaning in God, into God, praying, letting God run my business, asking Him, what should I do next, asking for direction. And so that's where that came from, where I was like, dang, when God moves, and I move, he meets me there. Like when God tells me to do something and I'm obedient, then good things happen. And so I got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I don't even put a title on what I do. I don't want to put myself in a box, but when God tells me to move, I move just like that. That's it, that's all.
Period. Just like that, And okay, Chanel girl, because we get real over here at the Good God Girl. But
Yes.
like that is such I would say like an empowering statement. When God moves, I move, just like that, right? It's an act of obedience. But I know it is not that simple for
Mm,
complex people. Like, like we're
yes.
so complex human beings. We have doubts and we think and overthink things and whatever the case may be. And so I know it's like, oh, well, it's just not that easy. And part
Mm-hmm.
of me is like, it kind of is, but at the same time I know sometimes it's not. So what would you say were like some of the struggles that you faced in this journey, in just being completely obedient to God and completely surrendering your life to God?
That's a great question. Okay, Oprah, that's what I'm saying. Um, I got to a place where I was like, I'm gonna try God. I was like, I keep hearing people say walk by faith or whatever. And so I was like, I'm just gonna try you, God. Okay. So I'm just gonna do what you say. I'm gonna do it. It was like an experiment at first. I was like, I'm gonna do it in full out faith and I'm gonna listen to you. And I did it. I did one small thing the first time and God met me there. And I was like, oh, if he could meet me with this, then I could trust him with something else. And so I tried it again. And even I think the biggest struggle when I quit my job was going 6 months with no income. I was like every day I was like on my knee, like God, just show me next thing, just show me. And like praying and thinking like this next thing would be the next opportunity or looking for a sign. But I think the hardest thing for me was not getting the answer I needed for 6 months. I was like, yo, where you at? But then when I look back, God provided for every single month. I never asked for money. He always provided. And so that faith in that 6 month led me to the next leap of faith. So I think I would say for anybody who's struggling, start small. Um, and one thing that I heard from, it was Mike Todd, and he was talking to I can't Tim Ross, and they were having this conversation, and Tim Ross mentioned that we have maturity in our Christianity. We're like children. So God's not going to tell you, he might not tell you quit your job because you may not have matured to the level of faith to quit your job. He may tell you, I don't know, something small like say hi to this person, or like whatever it is. But it's to build your maturity in God and to build your trust in God. And I would say for anybody, don't like diminish yourself just because you don't have faith, like jump off a cliff faith. But some of us may have jump over that line faith. I don't know, like
Yeah, that
some of us
mustard
have.
seed, that mustard seed faith is all we need, the Bible says.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, we're all at different levels in our walk. And so I don't want anybody to say, like, Chanel quit her job, so I should quit mine. If God's not telling you to quit your job, don't quit your job. And
Period.
some of us need to
Because
mature. Right. Some of us need to mature in our walk with God before we can take on those bigger level things. So
mm,
I would just say the biggest challenge was patience, patience within myself,
mm-hmm,
patience with God, but also just giving myself grace in my growing period too.
mm. And so what would you say were the outcomes of your obedience and in your childlike faith, I should say?
Yeah, that's good. I would say, just real quick to add on to the last thing, sacrifice was difficult because um what I learned was that we don't follow the crowd. We're not supposed to be of the culture. We're counterculture. And so for me to get to a place of being like, I'm gonna listen to God. And also in dating, right? I'm not gonna just be out here casually dating. I felt like I that's in my journey, I said that doesn't align with me to casually date. If I'm looking for my husband, I'm not gonna date you and I'm unsure about you. Like I need to be sure. And so the reward of that was God furthering me and leveling me up. But I think we have to keep in mind that God levels us up so that we can share the gospel with more people. So he levels up our platform so that we can push the kingdom. And that's our role as women in kingdom, is to push his message forward. And so everything I do is to glorify God. So even God sending, like, I'm not going to be like, I was obedient. God sent me a husband. It's like, no, God sent me a partner to further the ministry, like to further the kingdom. And so we just have to be mindful that anything that God is calling us to is to further his kingdom. And so I would say that's the biggest lesson I learned, and that's the biggest reward, is being able to impact people from whatever platform God has given me.
That's really good, girl. That's really good. Okay, so I want to transition into what's next, like you started this business, you got this rebranding, you got a fiance, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be getting married. Like, I mean, that's a little bit of what's next, but what is God telling you to do in this next season of life?
Girl. So for me, just being fully transparent, I'm a yes person and I take on a lot of things. And I think especially when you know you're talented or you have the time or whatever, you're like, yep, I could do that. People are like, I got this opportunity for you, and I'm like, I'll be like, yep, I could do that, I could do that too. So right now God's teaching me how to simplify my life and just focus on doing the one thing that he told me to do. And also just like the transition from being single to being a wife. Girl, I had no idea like how much work goes into just that transition, and just accepting the fact that, oh, I'm not the same Chanel, I'm a different Chanel. So there's just been like so many changes in my life. I've been recognizing how much of a role and how busy you get when it comes to being a wife. And so now I'm learning how to transition. I'm learning how to say no. I'm learning how to focus in on what God has called me to do, and then not be afraid of what people would think about it or what anybody would have to say about that.
That's real, girl. That's really real. Thank you for letting us in on that. I don't
Mhm.
want to take too much of your time, but I do want to ask, you gave some really good advice, just speaking generally, but I just want to know, what would you tell other good God girls that are out there on their journey to being God's kind of beautiful, who are trying to move when God tells them to move, who are trying to jump into this entrepreneurship role or are transitioning into becoming a wife? What advice would you give to those good God girls?
That's a great question. Um, I would say getting yourself together is a myth. Just being like, I'm gonna get myself, I gotta do this. Or think even in your single season, a lot of times we think like I have to prepare to be a wife, and so I have to get all my stuff together. And even like me being in transition to marriage, being like, I have to get it together for my husband. It's like stop putting so much pressure on yourself to be something that nobody told you you had to be. I think I've at least put a lot of pressure on myself, and in this season being like, man, I just want to be the best wife that I could be. But even as women, being putting pressure on ourselves, like I want to have the best podcast, or I want to have the best this or that. I would say just be the best you can be at your relationship with God. Be the best that you could be with your own health, prioritizing yourself and prioritizing your relationship with God, and everything else will fall into place. I think the more we try to clean up our lives in our own will and our own power, the more exhausted we get, the more burnt out we get, the more frustrated with ourselves we get. So I would just say give yourself grace to be messy and know that God's going to use you regardless of if you're messy or not.
That's real. Ooh, child, she's spitting. Hallelujah. She is spitting. It makes me think about that saying. I seen it on like Instagram or something. It said like, um, God factored in your stupid, like when it
Mm,
came to like when it comes to your purpose, God already factored in your stupidity or something like that. Something along the lines
yes.
of that. So like that's my encouragement. I don't need to have all my ducks in a row. I don't need to have
Yeah.
it all together. He says, come as you are. So no matter how hot of a mess you are, baby, you are welcome in the presence of the Lord.
Yes.
That was some good advice, Shanell. And girl, I'm just so happy for you. Like, I'm so excited. I can't wait for your wedding day. Yeah, I'm invited. So, you know what I'm
She a whole
saying? A
bridesmaid.
whole
Okay.
bridesmaid out here. I
Let's
can't
period.
wait. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you. It's just been like truly a blessing to see like where God has taken you from when we first met when you were 16. Well, not even 16. We were 15. I went to your
Mm-hmm.
sweet 16.
Yep.
And you came to mine. You actually performed at my sweet 16. I was just talking to somebody about this. Okay, I'm
Yes.
not even going. We gonna share a
Oh, I
picture or
swear,
something
I
on the
just want to
gram.
say, Bree's birthday parties every single year that I've known her and shown up to her birthdays have been lit. And
Oh my
every year she'd
goodness.
be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then she pulls out something that's just super
I just
fire.
pull it out.
So,
I just pull it
uh,
out. No, I'm kidding.
every
But
year.
girl, I appreciate you and I just appreciate our friendship. And I've said it before, but you definitely inspire me in, more ways than you know. You inspire me to keep going. Sometimes when I be feeling like, oh God, I just don't want to move. When you tell me to move, Jesus, I
Mm,
just, and then but that's really the importance of like faith friendships. You know what I'm saying? That's literally the importance of having good God girls and having that community to push you when and ask you those questions. People who can be tuned in, who are tuned into the spirit, um, the same God that you're praying to, and He speaks to all of us, And so I'm just so appreciative of you. So,
yes, I'm appreciative of you too, and you inspire me too. Like just
girl.
your strength, like girl, like you are a whole empire, and I hope you know that. And so I can't
Oh.
wait to see how God continues to build you up.
Thanks, friend. Oh, I appreciate you. See, this is love. This is what, if your friends aren't edifying you and aren't speaking life into you, baby, you
Yes.
gotta ask, are they
Okay.
really your friends? You know,
Seriously
that's all I'm saying. But
though.
I'm gonna end it right there, Miss Shanell McCoy, for a few more months. Where
Okay.
can we keep up with you and all the good stuff that you got going on in your life?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram as of now at the Shanell McCoy. I'm also on YouTube, youtube.com/the Shanell McCoy. I think those are my only two right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and then check out my business, Shanell McCoy Creative.com.
Period. And don't forget to tune
Oh
into
yeah, I forgot about that too. The Nelly and K Show. You can find us on Instagram at the Nelly and K Show.
Hey Now, and all of that stuff will be linked below in the description. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Good God Girl. Of course, if you're not already, subscribe to the show, leave a comment below, tell us what you was thinking or what you was feeling, what God was speaking to you. Do all the stuff that I told you to do at the beginning. In Jesus' name, I love y'all.